democratic space, so the student of Raila, 140s, me and others, can actually practice the principle of Raila in South Sudan. They can practice the principle of Raila in Ethiopia. They can practice the principle of Raila in Uganda.
Yeah, and actually, before I come to you, the split we have on our screens are the supporters who had gathered outside the airports, and they were waiting for the procession to pass by for them to give it the company that they had accorded the procession from the JKI, but now looking disappointed because the body of the former Prime Minister will be airlifted. This is one of the military choppers. This should be Hugh, which is taking off. It's an American made and should be taking off shortly. It's carrying the other parts of the military. You can see in their ceremonial attire, and it's part of the military chopper that will be accompanying the former Prime Minister's body that was loaded into another chopper. There's also another one that will be airborne, which is the third that is carrying the leadership of the party, marking a day of busy activities for this hub in Kisumu. And you can imagine also the number of commercial flights that will be flying in there. Also the communication issued by Kenya Airways yesterday. The shut doors means then that it's time for takeoff, and our team is keeping an eye on the specific chopper that is carrying the casket which bears the body of the former Prime Minister. And of course, the lenses of Mauritius were as clear as those of our eyes. Kenya Air Force flight number, chopper number 1502 is part of military choppers that will be accompanying the former Prime Minister's body that was loaded into another aircraft. And outside, the crowds that had gathered in anticipation of giving company to Raila Odinga's body, of course concerned, have started walking away. And after being informed that the body of the former Prime Minister will be airlifted and to be taken to by road. Yes, Dr.
No, I think talking to the supporters, my plea to them is this: let's have some order in this send-off, because we saw what happened at JKIA, and that's probably the reason why the military decided to airlift the body from KISUMU Airport to Mamboleo Stadium, because it was very chaotic, and from JKIA, and they even attempted actually to airlift the body, but it was impossible for the chopper even to land to pick the body. So I would suggest, I would urge the supporters of Baba that let's have some order as we send off Raila. This attempted of everybody wanting to touch on the coffin is critical. It's a bit chaotic, and it's looking very disorderly. Already there's a program that the body will be viewed at the stadium. So just assemble at the stadium, and I hope that when the body is either airlifted or by road to Bondo, there won't be a lot of interruption, on the way. I think for me, that is the respect we must also now accord Baba, so that let's have some order in this send off, so that because it did look good, for example, in Kasarani when 3 people lost their lives because people became chaotic. It wasn't also good for me when I saw them storm Parliament, walked away with the gates of Parliament. So I mean, even to the supporters, whereas it's good for them that to mourn and Baba, but let's also leave the violence aside. Why destroy, for example, gates? Why cause chaos that force the police, for example, to shoot, kill 3 people? I mean, that's not right. And for me, to the supporters, this is bad manners. If you're really going to marry your hero.
Acne-prone skin. Soap is not enough. Try Pure Active, the #1 anti-pimple cleanser with salicylic acid and charcoal. 3 actions to reduce pimple-causing germs.
Even when he was going down, he still cared about Kenya. Can you imagine if Raila did not put a will that I need to be buried in 72 hours, and you have his body here for 2 weeks? The business community would have stopped. Everything Kenya would have stopped. The man wants Kenya to move ahead. That's why he put a will that in 72 hours,
I should be buried.
so that Kenya can move ahead. Doesn't want Kenya to stand still when he's dead. So his supporters need to understand who is their leader. And as than honoring him is one of the things they need to be very, very orderly. To help the Kenyan government organize the dignified grand send-off of their leader, they need to be very, very, they should be the first people to be very organized in respect of their leader. I know it's a difficult time for everybody, for his supporters. Also, nobody was expecting Raila to just die like that. We expected him to first of all get sick. He's visiting the hospital, but this was the sharp thing, and that's what happened to leaders who are loved. So his supporters need to understand that their leader did not want Kenya to be in chaos for a longer time, and they want to be orderly. Because, for example, you see, one of the things that people are saying on the side, how are you honoring Raila when you are stopping vehicles and saying that where are the tweaks? Why don't you have tweaks in your car? Especially on the first day, and then of course you vandalize. So you're disrespecting the man. So give him a good send off by behaving yourself. And I think I don't know that you watched the send off of Winnie Madikizela Mandela at the stadium. It was a celebration. And I think that's how we should treat the send off of Raila. You see, even the Fieri Malema that time told Ramaphosa, do not worry, today we will not...
it will be orderly.
It will be orderly. You are our president. Today we will not disrespect you. So he assured him. So that was a respect for them, for Winnie at that time. So we should do the same thing for Raila. So these supporters really, in my view, need to be orderly so that Raila can be given a good send-off, an orderly send-off. And I think that is the respect we really must accord the man.
So historic is it, Daktari, and what then marks after Sunday are there so many question marks on the beginning of a new era in Kenya?
Well, the truth be told, well, like I said, Raila for a long time has been almost the center point of Kenya's politics. Either way, whether inside government or outside government.
Just brief information here. The chopper that had taken off from KISUMU International Airport has landed in Mamboleo. This is the American-made Hue, or the Bell UH-1, famously nicknamed the Hue from its original military designation. Of course, it's an American manufacturer, and which was so famous during the Vietnam War of the 1970s, and which had ferried the military brass that is now alighting from the military. And though its replacement, there's been updated several times by the American military, and it is one of the signatures meant for transport and also mounted gunships, especially during times of war, given its easy descendancy in taking on enemies, and has landed in Mamboleo, which also gives us a hint of the short distance. This should be in few minutes, and the two others are still at the KISUMU International Airport, where they should be taking off as well. The 5Y-NG is the helicopter that will be taking off from the KISUMU International Airport. It's a Russian-made transport helicopter manufactured by the Kazan helicopter plant, a subsidiary of the Russian helicopters. And it's now taking off from Kisumu International Airport. Should be a short distance of about 10 to less than 10 should be for 6 to 8 minutes, given the other which had preceded it, and this Russian helicopter plant and operated according to our records by the intelligence service will be landing shortly at Mamboleo. An estimated 5 to 6 minutes it should be landing, and its twin will also, and there's the takeoff was captured by Mauritius Oduor, our videographer who is stationed at the Kisumu International Airport. And the second one will be taking off shortly. The first one, as you can see, is now airborne, which should be a short distance. And once it lands at the Mamboleo Stadium, will give you the, of course, details and the landing. And you have the four-way coverage of our special coverage according to an extraordinary man and the extraordinary days that followed the death of the former Prime Minister. In Kondele, the first, the gathering that awaits the former Prime Minister, the airport, the takeoff, the near takeoff of the Russian-made chopper that will be taking off. The crowds that upon landing, the body has been airlifted, now making its way to Mamboleo, and from Kondele and outside the airport, both now heading in the same direction. And given the energy that they have displayed, the enormous deployment as we had seen in Nairobi, they should be in Mamboleo anytime and to pay the respects to the former Prime Minister. This is where the body of the former Prime Minister will be placed once it's taken off the chopper that is now airborne. Should be landing in 2-3 minutes, and you can see people now running upon landing that the former Prime Minister's body has been airlifted. Yes, Dr. You had a point.
Yeah, I think we're talking about
the new era that we have talked about. Yeah.
Yes, I think the truth is that, like I said, Raila has played a bigger role in the Kenya's political arena, and therefore I think the truth is that with Raila gone, there is definitely going to be a void in the way Kenya's politics being played, especially from his strongholds. I think there will definitely be confusion. People think that ODM will now die as a political party because the person who was holding the party together was Raila, and a lot of people. And I remember it's Mzee Gumo who spoke the other day.
Yesterday,
Yesterday
said there will be long lists of casualties.
And I think Fred Gumo was right, because there are a lot of people who politically survived because of Raila. There are people who will be voting just because Raila endorsed them. Right now, I don't know who will endorse them. So they're in trouble, including in Luo Nyanza itself. So without Raila, there is a new political, there will definitely be a new political, direction, especially from his stronghold. First of all, what I see there'll be clear confusion, clear disorganization from his political party, and that just underscores the importance of this man in the politics. And in fact, there is also now a conversation, although people don't want to shout loudly about it, that with Raila gone, the one term of President William Ruto is
just a minute. You proceed. I pause you. We have long time. Here comes the chopper that had taken off from International Stadium. That is the one carrying the leadership of the party, and the other which bears the casket that has as the body of the former prime minister is now about to take off the sealing off of the doors before it takes off. Yeah. The problems with machines.
Or the problem of second hand.
All right, shortly it should be taking off. Here we go. And you have also on this is Busia County Governor who has just arrived. That is Rafael Wanjala, Budalangi MP, under the leadership of the party that is now alighting from the other chopper that had lifted them from Kisumu International Airport. Mishimboko running waves to the gathering supporters. Also aboard the supporters who are learning that the former Prime Minister's body will be airlifted and now making their way to Mambuleo. And you can see the enormous energies that they have dedicated to the man, the sacrifices upon the border. This is captured by my colleague Laura Otieno and her camera person. Yeah, for in one border. They say it's from there. While the chopper that had taken the leadership to the Mamboleo Stadium takes off to clear the way for the other, which bears the casket that bears the body of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. It should be in 3 minutes. Should be landing. Pamela Sige seems to be the expert in aviation for this situation. So, Dr. as we proceed, we're inching closer into giving a dignified send-off to a man who has been celebrated across the world.
Yeah, I mean,
and you are proceeding with a point, please.
Yeah, and I think Raila deserves this grand send-off. But we was talking about the fact that there definitely be political casualties, including the fact that people now who perhaps were relying so much on Raila's political capital, because the man, you cannot ignore the fact that actually he's built political capital over decades, and that became an investment for him, for which many people actually relied on for their own political survival. In fact, not even political survival, to be able to put food on the table. So you could actually say that because of Raila, some people were able to afford certain lifestyles, because of his politics, because of association with him. And it's because of that political capital that has created over the years. So now what does that mean going forward? As you already could see, there are those within ODM who had already said that I don't know that they had read the signs.
Yeah.
You also there's a new, almost like quote unquote, a new team from a splinter group within ODM that wants I think they're called what, Kenya Moja? The Babu, the Sikunas, the Karibamisi, the Karoli Omondi. I saw you on one of your shows where I think Karoli Omondi actually said that ODM would be a dead party without Raila.
And he's been insider.
Yeah, he's an insider. He was the chief of staff for Raila. He's worked with Raila for a long time. So those are now the calculations that a lot of these people will have to do. How do we survive? Because and I think that is maybe the other point that to point out about Raila. It's been almost like the anchor.
For everything revolved around.
So that now people are wondering, how will I survive without Raila? That's just the importance of the man politically. And this is why I believe that a lot of these